All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today is the only day I'm going to suggest maybe you get a seatbelt, a 5-point harness, your own airbag, maybe just hug a big beach ball in front of you, because today we're going to talk about motivation. And I have on the show somebody who, if you watch this podcast, you know how I feel about him. You know what he's like. He's powerful and dangerous and wonderful, and he's just a motivator. He has come from the bottom, and now he's at the top, right? I mean, this man has come from a lot of misery, but he built himself up, and he's a shining star in so many arenas. He's an amazing chiropractor. As you may know, he's also he has a diplomat in neurology, teaches neurology to chiropractors. He's skillful, intelligent, powerful, smart. And I just love hanging out with him because it's hilarious, because he's gutsy. And so welcome back to the show, Dr. Fred Clary. Fred, what's going on?
Hey, glad to be back. I'm glad to be here. Well, what's going on? We dropped one kid off of college.
Nice.
You know, that was a big deal. There was a lot of tears. I probably cried more than my wife. But yeah, we have the 18-year-old Sammy is now at University of Wisconsin Superior. She's got a full ride, 4-year scholarship for aquatic biology. So we're very proud of that. That's a big deal. So,
is that an athletic scholarship? Is she a swimmer?
Science.
Don't you? Okay. Do you have a swimmer?
It's called the Swenson Scholarship. They only give 4 out a year, and she got one. So
fantastic.
Yeah, her ticket's punched. If she doesn't drink too much beer and party too much, she'll be all right.
All right. Hopefully, she takes after her mother.
Yes, please.
All right. So today I want to get into motivation, because it's something that I see people struggle with every day in my practice. They're not even motivated to do their stretches, to drink water, eat the protein. And they come and visit after visit, and they kind of got this low vibe to them. And I'm there to pump them up a little bit. And I get them with, information, not just silly statements, but it's like, okay, here's why you should do this. These are things that are going to get you to the next place. You're sitting here, you're not happy, go there. Here's the spot. I pointed out. And some people just kind of drag their way there. And it's always good to have some more tools for that. And I always approach things sort of in the 3 areas. I want to get people emotionally involved, realize that spiritual development and emotions are a big part of the game. Then I'm going to talk about the chemistry of their body, right? What they're eating, what they're putting in their body, all the garbage that's floating around in their system. And then, of course, their structural body, right? As a chiropractor, we know that if the nervous system isn't performing properly, the body's not going to perform, the mind's not going to perform, and a person's going to be pretty miserable. So we talk about the structural side. So the emotional, the chemical, and the structural, right? Yeah. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what do you think it is that people get in a place where they just don't have any motivation? They're in their mother's basement for too long. They're just moping around. They're godless, they're miserable. They just don't have the energy, the cynicism. Where do you see it coming from, and how do you punch a hole in that to start people off?
Well, I think it comes down, just to keep it very simple, is to labels. So we have this bunch of jelly between our ears called the brain. So we have a biological organ called the brain that's run by efficiency in all its processes, neurotransmitters, energy use, ATP, it's a fancy word for energy. And then the brain creates this program called the mind. The mind is that's esoteric. It's actually just something made up by this biological instance, this organ. And your mind is driven by continuity and consistency. So if you grow up and you think you're a piece of crap and I'm a loser and I can never get in shape and I should weigh 500 pounds, then that's your label. And your mind will do everything it can to continue with consistency and continuity and congruency. So a lot of times you see these people go through a weight loss program, or, oh, I have a bad back. Who told you that? Oh, my teachers, preachers, my brother, my mom, I hurt my back in high school. It's never been the same. Who told you had a bad back? Well, I've always had a bad back. And you shoot the damn x-ray on these people and it's fine. And I'm like, man, that's textbook perfect, right? It's like, who told you had a bad back? But their mind, looking for congruency, because it's a survival characteristic of humans, looking for that congruency will say, you have to have a bad back to be congruent with the label of who you are. You're a bad back sufferer. Well, if you try to break that, that's why some people go off alcohol, they go off drugs, they go off food, whatever addiction they have, and everything comes back because we never fixed that prime label. So a lot of times when people are unmotivated, I don't see people as unmotivated. I don't even use that word, Doc. Everyone's motivated. Some are motivated to lay on the couch. So I read an article, God, about 20, 30 years ago, and it said our brain is set up for addictions. In other words, we're set up to make a program, to make a loop, and to continue to run that program, whether it's good or bad or neutral.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you're always looking to run that loop. If you're an ex-Catholic, you're driving through town, how come you notice all the Catholic churches? Right? It's just the way you're programmed. Why didn't you look for the Baptists? There's probably more Baptists than there's Catholic, but you don't notice them. So our brain is all our focus, our filter is always looking for continuity. It's just like I got my wife a new Jeep Trailblazer, Trailhawk. So she got this Trailhawk. I'd never seen a Trailhawk before. Well, guess what? After we bought the damn thing, I see them all the time now, right? So my mind is the big filter looking for that label. Now I'm a Trailhawk owner. And to continue with continuity and congruency, that's what I see. So I'm motivated to look for these cars now, where they were there yesterday before I bought the damn thing. Right.
It's one thing. If there's one thing I learned in this last year and a half is the concept of conformational bias.
Yes.
Right. Which fits in exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely.
We look for something to agree with that programmed mind, so it's comfortable. It's uncomfortable when something disagrees with what you believe. And if you have a lot of layers of belief over something, and someone says, "Here, listen to this," and oh my God, it goes in conflict to what you've believed and what has apparently served you, whether good or bad, it has at least kept you comfortable. You're gonna be upset because, oh God, I got to reinvent and redefine and put a lot of energy out now to incorporate this contrary belief into my current belief system. How am I going to wrap my mind around this? Because I've been over here for so long. Now I'm supposed to go over here a little bit, and how? It's really sad, because how are we going to grow if we don't open up to newer ideas, and especially when they run contrary to our beliefs?
Well, Doc, I want to say you spend a lot of energy. Actually, contrary beliefs go against the law of survival in biology. It takes a lot of energy to fix your golf swing. It takes a lot of energy to learn a new language. It takes a lot of energy to get rid of a bad habit. You actually spend less ATP, glucose, energy, biological chemicals that give us energy in our brain, in our central nervous system. You actually spend less on a bad habit than trying to learn a good habit. The good habit costs energy. Now, here's what you got to all understand. Your mind and your brain have no morals. They have no ethics. That's a concept that we run. That's a program. Ethics, morals, motivation. That's a concept that all the brain is looking to do is survive with the least amount of energy expenditure as possible. And if I can make a program that works, like, I don't know, be codependent, get beaten by your spouse, that works. You know what your label is. And people say, well, Fred, that's horrible. Well, how much energy would it be to put your spouse in your place, to get up and leave and restart your life? That takes more energy, right? More output. All biology is geared toward efficiency. Trees, plants, viruses, they're all trying to be efficient and survive. And they're going to do the least amount of change possible to survive. Now, if you force them to change and adapt and modify, they will, but they're still going to modify only the least amount. So what am I saying with all that? They're saying, Dr. Claire, that's a lot of stuff. You are wired not to change. And that's a big deal, especially adults. So when I'm working with a patient who's got whatever addiction, whatever problem, I'm like, I'm already behind. I tell them the truth. It's more going to be hard. You're actually going against your own biology. And the funny thing is, you'll be going against your own mind and brain, because your organ of analysis, your brain, is what's addicted to this bad, sloppy, lazy behavior, lazing on the couch. And
Mhm.
your brain, to maintain your mind, to maintain continuity and congruency, will give you every excuse in the book. This
I
isn't
get it.
this isn't motivational speaking. I'm not trying to blow sunshine up your skirt. This is biology. Your biology will say, don't do that workout. Don't make that
Mhm.
chiropractic visit. Don't
Mhm.
take that vitamin. And your brain will come up with all these different excuses because it's cheaper and more economical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I'm working out, one of the things I had to get across, and you and I talked about this years ago, was that I had to link the discomfort and the suffering of the workout to such amazing results and such a good life and a healthy body, or I would default to the comfort zone. And the comfort zone was to do a moderately lame workout. But when I really pushed and I felt the burn, I thought to myself, this is how you win. This is how. So I all of a sudden saw that thing in front of me. I remember you saying when you power lifted, and you can refine this because things get rewritten in your mind over time a little bit, but you had said that you would grab that bar and you would picture lifting that bar was you going to the next place.
Yes.
Everything you wanted was on the other side of you simply
Yes.
taking that bar and moving it from here to there. It might have been 1.5 feet, 12, 14, 18 inches, whatever it took to move the bar from here to there. But when you did that, your mind was, you would programmed yourself, I guess, to know that when that bar moves, you're going to be in the next place. You just elevated yourself in the world and in your own respect for yourself.
And that's called focus and redefining the label, putting a label on what this lift is. If I thought lifting these weights were just me working out and trying to get tone so I don't have low back pain and my chiropractor's happy with me, that's not a motivational factor. But if I think my family is going to die if I don't move this weight,
Right.
everything matters. This one repetition, everything is on the line. We all know neurologically, or at least we have the studies now, we have grandmas that'll lift up a car because their granddaughter's caught underneath of it. Well, why do we have to wait for an emergency to grab that resource if it's in all of us? So what you have to do is visualize, and that wakes up an area in your brain called the striatum. It's a basal ganglia. It's a fancy area for movement and behavior. And when that striatum gets fired up with dopamine, you're going to walk through a wall. You don't need cocaine. You need drugs. You'll walk through a wall. So my goal was always to internally motivate myself no matter what. Now, of course, you have external motivators, people yelling, screaming, and it's always good to be in a group that's always pushing for success because that changes the wiring in your brain. So, but I always would look at that as motivation. I need to do this. Like I have to do today, I have to write a little narrative letter on a patient to another doctor. And I hate paperwork, just like you, Doc. Oh my goodness. I have to motivate myself. So I'll give myself a reward. All right, this is a task that no one likes to do. No one likes to make their bed. No one likes to clean the bathroom. But, I'm going to motivate and say, what can I do to motivate myself to do this? All right, here's my reward. And I'll come up with a nice reward and follow through. Once you start working with how the brain works and how the mind works, once you understand that, it's easy to be motivated. It's not, it really is. I don't care what's happened to you. You lost your spouse, you lost your sibling, you lost your kids, you lost your job. Sounds like a country music song. You lost your dog. And that motivates you in the past to sit down and cry. Or it can motivate you to honor that legacy of the loss and move forward. That's all labels. Because think about it. Where does motivation come from, really? Between your ears. Why did two people go off to war? One person comes back and they're a mess. And I'm not saying they don't deserve to be a mess. Of course they do. But they sit on the couch and do drugs. The other one becomes motivated, goes back to school, goes to church, has a great life because they were over there in Afghanistan and they're like, we are blessed where we are, and I don't want my kids ever to suffer that. That's my motivation. The other guy who was right next to him during all this, his buddy in the platoon, he's on the couch. Now, all it is, his label is, and he got it from his mother. You know, we always blame the moms, dads, teachers, nuns, priests, brothers who spanked them in Catholic school, whatever. When they get the label saying when bad things happen, you deserve it, right? You should sit there and cry in it. They got that somewhere. And like, I'll have a patient come in, they're like, I can't get motivated. It's like, who told you you were a loser? And we find out it was their dad or their peewee football coach or something dumb like that. And I'm like, really? What's he doing now? Sitting around at Culver's eating, you know, a custard hamburger? I mean, come on. Is that, does he have the qualifications to tell you what a good human is? You want some qualifications? That's why, like me and my wife, you know, some of the people like her coach is the strongest human that walks the planet now. And I'm like, she was working with some people locally, we still do, but I'm like, you know, Fred's crazy. So Dr. Clary went and, you know, just did some inquiries, and now she's got the strongest human in the world. You know, Dave Hoff that helps coach her. Why not? Why wouldn't you go to the best person? And I guarantee you, his idea of winning, success, and motivation will blow all the Karens of this world out of the water. Their idea that I can squat 1,300 pounds. You know, he's benching 1050. Yes, 1,050. I was there for it. I was 6 feet away, you know, amazing. And I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, do I even lift weights? Do I even work out? I've been working out for, you know, since I was 14, 40 years. What? I got to bring it up to the next level. What the hell am I doing? Well, Fred, you got bad back, you got fractures, you got hernia. He just benched 1,000 pounds. And I had to work on him. He tore some muscles, but I'm like, this guy feels no pain and he's totally motivated and he's funny and he's not Conan the Barbarian, but all the lifters we worked at this pro powerlifting meet, they were motivated not just to win. They were motivated to conquer the best they could be, the best they could be. Think about that. Be the best you can be. Not what your parents told you, not what the textbooks tell you. I mean, if you look at textbooks or talk to an MD or talk to anyone that lifts weights, is it possible to bench press 1,000 pounds? No, that's impossible. Well, we got video. I was there. It's insane, you know?
Yeah. You see, like, you think back with the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
How that was
Bannister, right? Bannister. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. You see things that people consider impossible. And it's just a matter of figuring it out. There's a lot of things that appear that way. And like you say, you need the motivation, but you got to understand how the brain works. I think that your point about studying the brain to know how the chemistry works, I think that's something I want to even expand on, because I had researched a lot about serotonin, and that in lobsters, they have a very similar physiological process, neurological process that we have. And you can measure their serotonin levels and directly predict their success reproductively and in the dominance hierarchies of their existence. And that turns out to be very true in human beings. But people feel, well, I was just born, I'm a depressing person. I'm a low energy person. Like you say, the labels, and people believe it, and they don't realize that serotonin it's changeable. Now, some people are certainly born with a little bit more, like some people are 6'5", other people are 5'2". But at the same time, what you do with that is everything. And to get your serotonin levels up, and you talked about dopamine a minute ago, there's some basic things you can do. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, do you think there's a diet for motivation, or a diet that is going to be able to create the neurology and the biochemistry to make someone a little bit more energized to be able to take on these challenges and erase those old tapes, get rid of the parents, teachers, and peers that told them these just undesirable and just disturbing statements about themselves?
Oh, and it's yes. The answer is yes, but it's more than a disturbing statement. Let's move to Thanksgiving Day. You go home. You're around your siblings. All of a sudden, you're 12 again, right? That's because we have a label that's given to us, and it doesn't match or serve us anymore. I'm 54, but I know when I get around my older brother, I'm 12 again, right? Well, I haven't been like that lately. But the thing is, that label is down, like I said, neurologically embedded. You have to break that. So it takes effort. So yeah, a diet high in protein, almost zero refined sugars. You can't do the sugars because dopamine is a neurotransmitter related to movement. You got to keep moving. And when you start moving, you release dopamine. You release dopamine, that also releases a little serotonin, and serotonin continues that high all day long. Well, guess what? You have to eat food that helps you move, helps you become more stronger, helps you become faster, and gives you endurance. Are you eating food that is serving you in your new label? And people say, well, I don't know what label it should be. Well, if you've always been the dumpy, fat one in the family, it feels comfortable. And I'm going to define comfort. It is efficient and has low economy. No, hardly any neurotransmitters are used. Hardly any ATP is used to tell yourself you're a loser because you've been doing it so long. It's like my hook in my golf swing. That's the efficient swing. If I want to get it straight, I use a lot of ATP, a lot of neurotransmitters. I'm sweating. It takes no sweat for me to hook. Whack. Oh, there it is. Or
you think about how when you're tired, how bad you are at things, right? You're just not that good at things when you're tired. So imagine, obviously being good at stuff takes more energy, at least to become good at stuff.
Initially, yes.
Yeah. Then it becomes habit, and then you just keep it refined.
Then you're just
I
good.
can remember a patient of mine is going through a very tough thing in his personal life, and he's a pro golfer, and his golf game was horrifying. And he's like, it's so amazing that your golf swing is a reflection of what's going on between your ears.
Yes.
And he thought he was doing better with these personal issues in his life. His golf game still wasn't there. And then when he really solved his personal problems, all of a sudden the game came back. And I would tell him now, from hearing you, that obviously what was happening there was he was not able to create the right chemistry because of the exhaustion of the emotional drainage that he had to deal with to get his life back in order. And in doing so, he was doing the more efficient swing.
No,
that's interesting you say that. The lazy swing is the more efficient swing. Correct. I told one of my patients, I said, in the real, I always read the stuff of Mark Sesson. He wrote the Primal Blueprint. Love that book. Love that man. He basically looked at the primal beginnings of man. He uses 165,000 years, and says that in that time frame, we were to be efficient. So people didn't run marathons back then. There was absolutely no sane reason to run 26 miles. Right.
You're going to have to run when the flood comes into the valley.
It didn't make sense to run 26 miles. It meant something to run maybe 3.
Yeah.
But in doing so, he said, well, the environment was uncomfortable and it was stimulating because there were saber-toothed tigers, like you and I've talked about, and other things that you had to go and do. But the default setting of your body was to go and just lay down. But you can't lay down. There's red ants stinging you. There's a growling thing, and your relationships with your children and your spouse would come apart. So all those were stimulus. When you get into an artificial environment like your mom's basement, there's the couch, there's the remote, and there's the television, and there's the computer and your cell phone. So what you have are all these artificial comforts with no saber-toothed tiger, no responsibility, and you just rot away because you're being efficient. That's efficient, all right. You're not burning anything, and you're just sitting there, and you're actually gaining it. So the person's in the basement, and what do they got? 30 pounds of fat on them, 10 less pounds of muscle because they've gotten comfortable, right? They've gotten back into that pattern that you were referring to.
Yeah. And here's the thing. The best MMA fighters, the best boxers, the best football players, the best power lifters, the best runners are those that are comfortable with pain and being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid, like I bench 600 Sunday. I'm not afraid of having 600 pounds over my neck where so you have to get to the point where you take these labels off and you put the label on that I can do this. This is
Mhm.
possible. I've always been sick. I'm scared of COVID. Well, here's the thing about the body and the innate, wonderful intelligence in the body. You can change that. You can become a stronger immune system and never get sick again. Now it's
Mhm.
going to take work. You have to eat right, put the Mountain Dew away once in a while. You know, you're going to have to drink a lot more water, eat more protein, take a few vitamins, unless you're an organic farmer and you don't have time for that. You know, you're going to have to sleep well, 8 hours a day, and you're going to
Mhm.
have to work out. Well, that seems like a lot to do. Okay, then get all these illnesses and die. I don't know.
Exactly.
I like the fact that I've been tested for COVID 5 times, antibodies, and I can't get the damn thing. I had a friend cough all over me and hack on me, and he was sick, and it did nothing. My
Mhm.
goddamn immune system's way too strong. I'm gonna stop taking all my zinc, all my protein. Maybe I'll
Mhm.
just eat at McDonald's for a month straight, like supersize. Maybe that'll help, you know. But
Yeah,
I
I
can't relate to these people that are so afraid of a bug that I can't even get. I mean,
yeah, it's
it's
sad that
like
people have.
people saying, Fred, I can't squat 100 pounds. Well, I squat 900, and I'm like, I can't relate. Now
Mhm.
let's move this to a bigger sphere. How about your immune system? How about your emotions? How about you work so hard on learning how to connect, learning how to love, learning how to parent? My 17-year-old's just getting out of the hospital right now. That's right, with mono. I was smooth. I was calm. I went down there and said, "Yeah, I got to do an interview, a national interview with Dr. Mike. Aren't you worried about her?" Nope. I looked at the numbers. They're all good. She looks calm. As soon as I walked in that room, my daughter calmed down. All her tests changed. People forget that the reason we need to be motivated to be winners is because of extrinsic motivation, the coaching aspect, that
Mhm.
I affect everyone I walk into the room with.
Yeah.
How do you think it felt when I walked in and I was calm? My ex-wife is all upset, and I got her calm. I got the doctors doing the right thing. And I'm like, okay, I just got a text. Oh, we're leaving in a couple hours. Okay. Really didn't have to go, but I'm glad you got the testing done. That is your responsibility as a human.
I agree.
Now, we do not teach that to the 23-year-old who moved back in the basement. We're not we're not teaching that. Why not be motivated to be faster, stronger, have more money if that's what you want, better sex, better looking, and bugs don't get you? Can you imagine living that life? And this is a dynamic structure, this nervous system. It's all choice. It is
Yeah,
your
you
choice.
you and I spoke a while back about psychoneuroimmunology and how the thoughts affect our immune system, and that the immune system not only deals with these viruses that are all in the news, but also cancer. I
Yep.
mean, I don't know what's scarier than that. That's a big one. And when you're taking care of that immune system, you're taking care of every cell in your body. Your body's recognizing self from non-self, which is crucially important because that immune system runs too high. And what do you have? Autoimmune diseases. The body
Yes.
starts attacking itself. If that isn't insanity, might be the definition of insanity. Your immune system has gone insane. It actually thinks you're the enemy.
Yes.
That is a sign that you've been eating
Let
at
me
McDonald's.
pause you, Doc. At that point, you are the enemy
Yeah, exactly.
to yourself.
How odd is that, right? How off base is that? You know?
You are the
But
enemy.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that I want to get into you with was this idea, because I have people that I'm around, patients and friends that, have this once in a while get into this thing that life doesn't have enough meaning. It's not meaningful, this kind of thing, right? And you and I, if there's anything that we might have trouble with, it would be relating to that, right? I think life's loaded with meaning. There's all kinds of stuff. I got too many hobbies. I got so much going on. I love it. And I wasn't born a positive, sunshiny guy, right? I was born a very shy.
Oh, I
I was
remember
doing
you
a
in
lot of
school.
yeah. I was hiding from people. I was born, with a fair amount of dysfunction around me, and I had to grow from that. And thank God for it, because it's made me a bigger person. I thank every dysfunctional person that I had to deal with in my youth, because they made me stronger, more investigative, and in the long run, it's worked out really well. But I see this link, and I was listening to one of my favorite authors, Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
And he got in, his guy's unbelievable. He got into the link between responsibility and meaning in life. And I just love this because I never saw the link, although it was like in the back of my mind, but I was never able to connect it. And I was able to share this with a young patient the other day, and it was really great because it really snapped him out of kind of like this trance he was in. When you take on responsibility, you get instant meaning.
Yes.
And when you have more meaning, you have a bigger purpose in life, and you become motivated, the topic of today's podcast, or inspired, different words for similar semantics, different semantics, similar. So for me, I think, okay, let's give a good example. I had a friend in high school, and she was taking acid, drunk all the time, slept with everybody. You find her in the bushes. She's this sweetheart. She's like a Janis Joplin, if anyone remembers her, right? Loved rock music. We would talk heavy metal music all the time, but I felt sorry for her. Like I was always trying to counsel her and be kind. And then these guys would abuse her, and it was terrible. Well, finally, years go by. I lost contact with her. I always hoped she was going to be okay. And then I ran into her, and it turns out she's got like 3 kids, and she's got this amazing, wonderful life. And I asked her kind of like, how did you snap out of your dysfunctional life? And she says, I took a look at my baby, and the last thing I wanted for this baby was to have my life. It was time to rise up. This isn't happening to my baby. I suffered. She had diseases, all kinds of horrifying things. That's not happening. And it's like almost brings tears in my eyes because it's such a thing. It's such a beautiful thing. You think
that's a wonderful story.
This foolish girl turned into this amazing woman, and then this unbelievable mother. And what was it that did it? She had all of a sudden responsibility. The responsibility of this child. She looked at that child and said, I'm responsible for this being. I love this being with my heart and soul. And now from that responsibility, I have meaning. And now that life is meaningful, I better get on with it. So she started doing great things. She got involved in her spiritual development. She got her physical act together. She got dysfunctional people out of her life. I think she was married twice. Her third relationship's phenomenal. And I actually met that guy. I never met the first 2. And I thought, what an interesting thing. And I remember feeling similar to that. I wasn't living that level of dysfunction at that time, thank God. But I remember looking at my first daughter and going, whoa, okay. Not to quote Jerry Maguire, or no, I think if it's the movie As Good as It Gets, you make me want to be a better man.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm going to be the man, the example. So it's time to up your game another notch. You got to be cleaner, faster, smarter, and get it together, because I'm the example of a man in her early life. And you hope that works so that she brings in somebody that at least has her act together. I don't have to be a copy of me. I don't, but at least that is, can hold a job down and support people and is good to the community and tries to, help everybody. But that link between meaning, responsibility, and I think Jordan actually says, if you feel like your life doesn't have any meaning, and I thought of you on this immediately, he said, pick up something heavy. Right now, it can be a weight, obviously, like you, but it's also pick up something heavy, take on some responsibility, do something. And that to me is one of the biggest things. You want to be motivated, be responsible for something. If you're in your mother's basement, all right, it's time to walk out, get the sun in your eyes, and say, okay, I'm going to be responsible for something. It might be your own body and health. It might be somebody that you care about, somebody that it needs to be taken care of, and just walk with that. And then all of a sudden you have meaning. And then when you have responsibility and meaning, people look at you differently. Right? I mean, look at how people look at you with all your achievements, right? They look differently at you than if you were just doing something really base and you really had a lot of negativity around you and you just weren't like a motivator and achieved anything. They think, oh, Fred's still a cool guy, but Fred's really something, because look what he's done. And it isn't all about achievements, but it does tell us, hey, he put his head down, he put his nose to the grindstone, and he pushed. And he pushed and he pushed and he thought and he developed and he got to where he is. And to me, that's crucial. One of the things I learned from a Joe Rogan podcast one time was he said, be the hero in the movie about you.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Be the hero in the movie about you. Imagine if someone's making a movie. Do you want them just filming you channel surfing? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to go out and solve a massive problem? Be the hero. that to me, it makes your life interesting. Once again, what is it? Responsibility, meaning, and then you have a motivated life.
That's awesome. One of the mantras I use in my life, and I have on Facebook all the time, is be the adult in your life you needed when you were a child.
Wow. Yeah, man. I never heard that. I love that.
Yeah.
I actually love that. I'm going to write that one.
I get up every day and that's what I think about. So like whether I'm walking into a hospital room with someone who got a minor illness, but I'm able to stay calm, or dealing in my office with kids with seizures or CPs or strokes, or, I got 4 teenage daughters, you know what that's like. Jesus, you know, I have to be calm and collected.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have to be motivated by that. What motivates me? And I have my own personal motivations. I don't live through my kids. Believe me, I just won the nationals for the old guys in June in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm still lifting. I'm still lifting heavy things. I still love life. And that's the hard thing. You got to get to the point where you have no obstacles. I always tell people that join our powerlifting team, this is a good motivational piece. How bad do you want to be state champion? Because we don't train for states. We train for nationals. Mm-hmm. On our team, we have 7 national champions. We have a team of 15. Half of us have American records. Almost all of us have state records. 2 of the women on our team, they invite 20 of the top women in the world to go to the WPO, the top lifting pro event of the year. We have 2 of those members. We have 1/10 the strongest women in the world on our team.
That's amazing.
Team. That's insane. Awesome. That's insane. Yeah. Where does that motivation come back from? Easy. Mm-hmm. Because we're not as when I joined the team, this is a great metaphor, and maybe you can help me clean this up, Mike. When people come up to me and they're like, I want to join the team, we don't train for local meets. We train for national and international competition. That's the starting point, Mike. Mm-hmm. Our starting point is national and international competition. Could you imagine? Oh, I just want to tone up. Can you show me how to bench press? You can join our team. We allow you, even if you only bench 100 pounds. And we got a lot of people who start with 1 plate, 135. Mm-hmm. But please know our routine, our discipline, our responsibilities to your other teammates start at national and international level.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, they're on drugs, they're this. And I'm like, oh man, the only drugs we are is like when we get together for a housewarming, or somebody has a kid moving to college and we have too many beards, It's the amazing thing is it's the training, it's the intensity, it's the mindset. We're not motivated for little trophies. I want to be the best there can be, it's time for, when Christian fight, Belinda's coach said, let's bring someone else on board to move Belinda to the next level. And I'm thinking, wow, who else is in Minnesota and all that? And I'm like, Fred, why don't you just go to the top? Get Dave Hoff. And I got Dave Hoff. Why not? Why would you get number 5? And I like Bob Merck. Don't be mad at me. I know you're number 5 this year, but and he's a friend of ours too. But can you imagine if you were learning how to quilt and you went to the top quilter, you were learning how to run and you went to the top marathoner from Kenya, usually, right? You went to the top CrossFitter. Well, I want to, learn how to motivate my kids. You worked with Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. Why not go to the best? Why not take the top shelf? Mm-hmm. Why not go Cadillac instead of Ford Focus?
I couldn't agree with you more. Fred. One of the things that I also want to get into is I learned about putting your fears behind you.
Yeah.
Instead of having them in front of you. Yeah. That's another really cool thing. And the example I use is like, I was not born or in the beginnings, let's say, to public speak. The idea of public speaking when I was in college was devastating. Like most people, I guess it's one of the biggest fears out there. And I get the sense maybe
COVID's
that never
up there now.
What is?
COVID's up there now.
Yeah. They're probably taken over. But yeah, I get the sense that, and it doesn't really matter, but I think it's kind of funny. I mean, real quickly, did you ever have a fear of public speaking? You were just kind of born standing up, shouting and getting everybody moving.
I get motivated by public speaking.
Okay, there you
So
go.
the more people in front of me, I get inspired by that.
Good,
Now,
good. That makes sense.
But when I look out in the audience, I have a different feeling. I'm not, oh, they think this of me, that of me. I think, who am I going to save their life with a piece of information?
Yeah.
I have to get this across now. I'm going to save someone's life.
Yeah.
Now, that's a little tongue-in-cheek, Fred. That's a little verbose. You know what? I can't tell you how many letters, notes, emails, and texts I get every day from Dr. Claire, you help me. Dr. Claire, you help me. Dr. Claire, you help me. That little piece of information changed our lives. You saved our marriage. How did I save your marriage? I never met you, you know?
Well, yeah. And I think in the beginning, what I did was to realize, okay, if I'm afraid of public speaking, okay, fine. So the fear is in front of me. And then I thought to myself, if I don't conquer this, what will happen? Yes. And then all of a sudden, those fears were behind me. The fear that was pushing me forward into public speaking was the fear that I wouldn't be successful, that I wouldn't be able to communicate properly with people, that I'd always be limited when it was time to communicate. If someone wanted me to speak at an event, I would be good at it and I wouldn't be able to do it. And I saw that as such a lame individual. I thought, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. I might be a little shaky on this, but I'm going to get it. And it was right after chiropractic college that I wrote a letter to the Chamber of Commerce back before the internet. And they wrote one, and I said, I'm ready for
on paper.
It was on paper with a typewriter. No, it was a computer. It's a computer.
Okay.
Dot matrix printing. So, and I mailed it, and I got a letter back. Basically, give me a list of your clubs and organizations. I then wrote a letter to them, and followed up with a phone call. And I got all these speaking engagements, of which I was partially terrified. But I just said, hey, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to move forward. And I got the fear behind me. So all that motivation pushed me. I got up on stage, and like how you felt, I'm here to change lives. I'm not here for my own self-gratification. Yes. I'm here to deliver a message. And if they want to laugh, good. If they don't want to laugh, maybe I'll get them crying. Whatever happens, happens. And I'm going to be better at this the next time. I'm developing a skill set. I'm creating new neural pathways in my brain, I realized. And then I'm a bigger person. Like you and I've talked about before, you do that circle for me years ago. And you said here inside this circle, you put a bunch of dots. I brought this up in another podcast for anyone who hasn't caught that one. You put a bunch of dots in the center, and you said, there's the size of you, and those are your experiences. And then you put a dot outside, and you go, there's an uncomfortable event you just did. Now you made a bigger circle. Okay, now look how big you got, because you got uncomfortable.
All the ones around.
Right. And then you make another dot outside there. Pretty soon, you're a bigger human being.
Yeah.
And I always found bigger people more interesting than smaller people. Mentally, I mean that, right? When someone hasn't done much, hasn't been through much, I don't feel as connected to them. When someone's been through a bit of a living hell and or has achieved a lot, they're a more interesting person to be around, because you can delve into all these amazing stories and things they've achieved. And I wanted to be that person. So that's what I've become, by making myself uncomfortable. And in that other podcast, we talked about neuroplasticity and building new pathways. So when you do uncomfortable events, you might clean this up for me. I believe we code for proteins that the genes then express to build more neurology, to then have more neural pathways to be able to conquer that. Flesh that out for me.
Yeah,
what's the order of that?
You're dancing around the concept of epigenetics, that you are not just the product of your genes, that your genes are actually read like a Bible or a big encyclopedia, and that reading protein called a histone. So Fred's a histone protein, and I'm reading the Bible. I could take any verse out of context, right? And create a religion and change everything. Well, that's how you get immediate change. You can actually, we already have all the studies. This is proven. This is not voodoo anymore. It was 20 years ago. Now it's science. That if you go ahead and you change your behaviors, your reading protein says, okay, you're fat, you're fat, you're fat. Wait, we're not fat anymore. We're doing other behaviors. Okay, you're skinny, you're skinny, you're skinny. And then you're skinny forever. And you pass that trait on. We just don't pass on our DNA. We pass on the readers. We pass on the glasses for reading. That's what we pass on too. That's important. That's actually more important than, oh, you know, half your genes come from your mom. Who cares? You also got 7% virus, 3% Neanderthal. You don't got a big Klingon forehead. Come on. It's the reading protein. It's what you read out of that encyclopedia called human genetics. And that's expression that's passed on. So if you never were a runner before and you lose 200 pounds and become a marathon runner, then you start to procreate, you're going to pass those running genes on that you never had before. That's amazing. That's amazing. So talk about responsibility, Doc. Here's responsibility. Your behavior codes for the behavior of your entire family.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's your responsibility.
So by changing behavior, the reader starts to read other parts of the genome that aren't currently expressed, and it starts to express those.
Correct. That's epigenetics. For those who want to Google and don't believe it because they're living in their mom's basement and, you know, want to eat Twinkies and play video games all day. As soon as you get up and start moving, it changes your body.
Current science class is still convincing children that they're a victim of their DNA.
They're not a victim.
Right.
It's what you were given. So I'm 6'1". I'm not designed to be a power lifter. Power lifters are short and squat, you know, but I had to work hard at it. Well, guess what? It's a lot easier for me now to get back in shape. Same with the runner. You know, you can run and run. People call that muscle memory, but it's also genetic memory too. And it comes back quicker and quicker and quicker. Now, here's a tough one. Ready for this? And we hear this all the time. The sins of the father go down 7 generations. An old book talked about that. The Bible was talking about epigenetics.
Yeah.
Guess what? If you're an ass, if you're an alcoholic, right? Just say alcoholic. Then that's passed on. Ready for this? There's several studies out there showing that in a family of morbidly obese, that's really overweight people, even if one of those kids ate a sensible diet, they would draw the blood and the thyroid would be low. Now people say, oh, genetically they had a low thyroid. No, I'm going to say to you that they observed addictive eating, and the label said I'm fat because I come from a fat family, and the biology complied with that program and lowered the thyroid. That is actually what science is today. Now, if you say, oh, it's the thyroid, well, you're 1980s. Big hair. Right. I mean, we got cable now. Come on, stop it.
Right. Yeah, no, I think the epigenetic model fits perfectly into what we're talking about, because if you want to change and you want to be more motivated, you want to get more done, you want your life to improve, you should understand the neurology behind that, so then you can take advantage of that. Like you said, starting this podcast, the gelatinous blob between your ears, if you understand how that thing works. And it's like anything else. They've shown that mechanics drive their cars differently than people who don't know anything about their cars.
Correct.
And I asking this, and I remember a long time ago, mechanics said, never lay on the brakes when you're going over railroad tracks. It's really bad for the braking mechanism to have pulsing and the tires bouncing up and down and jerking when the brakes are on. I thought, okay, cool, that makes sense. And I don't do that, right? I brake before and then after. If
that's
I have
what
to
I do
down.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's
brake jobs and figure it out.
Yeah, I was born with a lot of mechanics around me. So by the time I had a car, that was told me when I was like 12 years old. By the time I had a car, I knew all this stuff about how to start the car, work the car, and my cars tended to last a little longer than other people's cars. And it's because I knew the guts, I knew the internal workings. And what you're saying here is, let's understand the guts, the internal workings of how the brain works. And that through repetitious behaviors, we'll create new patterns and neuroplasticity. It isn't just a new habit. I think people think, oh, I can't develop the new habit. I'm an old dog. You can't teach me new tricks. Well, you just haven't done it long enough. You haven't laid down the pathways. And once you do, they're there for life until you do enough of the opposite to burn them back out. Right. But I think
so. Neuroplasticity, for everyone, it's a big $10 word for you actually change the wires from how the wires in your brain talk to each other. And physically, we get new physical connections. The reason they say you can't teach old dogs new tricks is because in adults, sometimes it takes 3 to 5 years to make a permanent change. In kids, it's 3 to 5 months. That's why kids are so important, because their brains are so flexible and moldable and plastic. They are moving and bending. Us, it takes a while. I always tell my patients, though, but what's 3 years? You weigh 400 pounds. In 3 years, we're going to get new habits. We're going to rewire your brain so you're skinny. Pick out something, a model, a bodybuilder, whatever you want to look like. Pick that out, because that's where you're going if you listen to exactly what I said. And I'm going to say maybe the 10% that have, that's the way they turned out. And it's amazing. They're like, I can't believe this happened. No, it's just science. It's biology. And it takes a while. But here's the good thing. You won't need Fred anymore, because now the most efficient program is for you to be healthy and in shape. You're motivated to stay in shape, where other people are motivated to stay a slug, keep my lazy label. I'm in pain. I can never do anything. I have headaches. I have fibromyalgia, all those things, right? I have Lyme's disease. Really? You weigh 200 pounds. You tell me a spirochete that you have to look under a microscope is going to take you out? That thing can't even watch Friends on rerun. It's a bug. So you chose to give your autonomy over to a bug. That makes you feel good. Oh, that's what our society's doing now. Sorry, I don't turn myself over to a positive RNA virus. Shit, it can't even think for itself.
For me, exactly.
I'll turn myself over to someone who's better than me.
I see it as, we're magically and wonderfully made. And if we stimulate that and we don't get in the way of that, and we just let that be, it takes care of so much, the billions of reactions every second that it's in charge of. And the idea that we have some clue about this. And obviously we do some magical things in medicine. We put stents in hearts and we pull tumors out of brains. And this is all, the knee replacements and hip replacements are changing people's lives. Thank God for all that. But when you get into the minutia, if you're not paying some attention to the idea that you have to get down to the basics and start doing basically healthy things, like you mentioned before, you can't have it both ways. I have patients that tell me, well, I'm not taking any drugs. I'm not taking any drugs. I'm like, okay, you're 45 years old, you're 70 pounds overweight, you never exercise, you eat a lot of garbage. You currently are not taking any drugs. That's great. How long do you think that's going to last before something symptomatically occurs that scares you into a hospital? A doctor draws the blood and takes the images, and they see the big problem, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have to change you chemically now because your body is so off. You got chicken McNuggets all over you. So we're gonna have to, like, here's your statin, here's something for your triglyceride, and then all of a sudden you're taking drugs. Okay, so you can get along living stupid for a short time, maybe age 25, and then it starts to add up in most people. So I try to tell people, you're going to be making a decision real soon to give up that boastful thing that you have here, that you're not taking any drugs, and you're going to have to engage in doing things to support health. I tell people that, life is a gift. Health is mainly earned. It's mainly earned, right? And people are healthy and they're walking around doing dumb things. I'm saying mainly earned. Everyone knows the 103-year-old lady who drinks and smokes, and for some reason she's alive. You can't explain it. That's just as odd as the 14-year-old girl who got cancer and died. There are certain things we can't explain, but let's look at the numbers. Let's not let science be dead still. Like you said, science died in March of 2020. Let's try to wake it up and say, okay, let's look at the numbers here. We know the behaviors, and it is important to have these behaviors in order. it isn't silly these basic things to support our health are 100% necessary. And the examples are all over the place. If I didn't live that way, I wouldn't be here in the health state I'm in right now.
Well, let's talk about being healthy, motivated for, fighting disease versus living life. Motivated. I'm not motivated to be COVID. I'm not motivated to actually, Doc, you're going to hate this. I'm not motivated to be healthy. I'm motivated to unleash my potential as a human being every day. I want to be the best stepdad, the best dad, the best lover, the best husband, the best powerlifting coach my body can tolerate. And then guess what I do? Because I want that, I better have that protein today. I just had my vitamins before we got on. Better take an extra zinc. I walked into a hospital, better up the zinc and lysine just for today and tomorrow. But I think about that all day. Is I'm motivated for life. And part of living, that label that says I'm passionate about life, includes all the other things. That's just, I get up, I'm going to do those things. We all know the vegetarian that's sick as can be, and they're eating very well, but they're still sick. Why is that? And you take another vegetarian, he's doing fine. Part of that lives in an area in our brain, and here's a little neurology called nucleus accumbens, and it runs on glutamine. You don't have to know that, but it's on the back side of our limbic system, our emotional system. And that's kind of where the labels are and your goal setting. So if your goals are definable and reachable, right? That area in your brain will push you. That nucleus accumbens, the NA, will push you and will filter out all the crap. So in other words, when I got up today, I'm like, all right, got to do a podcast. I'm going to go visit the hospital. Oh, she's out of the hospital. I'll go do this. I got 5 other things to do today. Going to see like 70 patients tomorrow in half a day. We may go to the state fair. But of all those activities, and I got to work out in between and train someone, of all those activities, I want to be totally aware of enjoying this moment right now. I am motivated to squeeze all the good things out of life. So how about this? I get up and I notice the positives. I get up and look around. Wow, look at those flowers coming in, or the coffee tastes good today. Or, I walked in, to the hospital and they didn't stop me. They didn't do anything. And they were very kind. Oh, come here, doctor. They call me doctor. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I notice all those little things because there's as much good as there's negative and bad, but it's your filter, your label. And I'm constantly looking for the positives. Well, can you imagine people that get around me? You were around me. What was that like?
Yeah. Fire hose.
I want to bring out the best in other people.
Yeah.
Because I flip on the TV and I'm like CNN or MSN, Hee-Haw, whatever it is. Man, you watch that stuff and it's like they're trying to bring the worst out of people and looking for the worst. I want to, all right, yeah, there's a hurricane. Let me see the 80-year-old grandma who saved all the cats next door. Let's see that story. That's what I want to see because they're there. So part of your motivation in retraining it is celebrating small successes in a row. Chop it down. He's like, well, I don't know if I can lose 100 pounds. Okay. Can you lose 2? Today is Thursday. By Sunday, 2 pounds. Can you do that? Well, of course I can. Oh, stop. All right. And then in the next 5 days, I want you to lose 2. We don't talk about, losing 100 pounds. For someone that's negatively motivated like that with a negative label, I would say you can just lose a pound today. Don't tell me it's impossible. It's possible to lose 1 pound. And then they go and lose the pound. A year from now, they're down 100 pounds. Right?
Yeah. One of the things I do with when I'm with somebody that needs some motivation is I try to figure out, okay, is this person have the energy right now to make massive changes in their life? If they do, let's say they're energized, let's say they have an anxiety disorder. So there's plenty of energy pumping around inside the body. I think, okay, this person, let's do that massive action. Let's set 5 goals and 10 action steps and go over them. But I get around people also that they don't have any anxiety. They have lethargy. They're gassed out. There's nothing left. And to those people, I say, okay, what's the smallest thing you can do today? The smallest thing you can do today to go towards this goal that we set up. Let's say it's 100 pounds. Like you just said, talk about losing 2. Like talk about, like, let's just change one thing. Can we cut the pop out? Right.
That's it. That's
one
it.
thing.
Yep.
The baby step. You know, I know you're not like that. Like if you're going to make a change, you're going to like have, at least historically, you can tell me if you've changed this belief, but you tend to just take massive action. Like let's say a new task was about, you know, you had to learn how to like fix a lawnmower. You'd probably get 5 different lawnmowers, take them all apart, put them all together 3 times, you know, and then mow the lawn and measure the grass. And, you know, that's just because you have that kind of drive and energy. Another person would say, okay, today we're going to learn about the carburetor on one lawnmower, you know, and I don't mean to mock that, but that is another way of approaching it. Methodical, calm, slow, you know, the tortoise winning the race type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because everybody is sort of in a different place. I think the anxiety ridden and chaotic need massive action.
Yes.
Where the more slow and you know, need to say, okay, today I'm just going to go, I'm going to move the shell from here to here. And then every day I'm moving the shell a little bit in the baby step. And I think that makes a big difference. You got kind of meeting people where they're at, right?
Yeah. No. And I'm going to say something too, that's going to be a little harsh, but you know me. Who is your guru? Who is your guru? Who is your expert? Now we all flip on the TV and you got Dr. F out there saying all this stuff and he's changed his tune 5 times and he hasn't looked under a microscope in 30 years. Our national health expert, right? Infectious disease expert. It's not an expert of anything, right? Investigate your experts. And
Absolutely.
sometimes those people, as well-meaning, and they can be sincere, but they can be sincerely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So just because they're sincere and well-meaning doesn't mean they're correct. So seek out those gurus that show it by behavior. Okay. If you're talking about a sporting good, sports, you know, you want to find the best quarterback, you're going down to Tampa Bay to talk to him, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If you want to find the best running back or you want to learn about being a running back, go to them. The good thing is we have the internet. You want to learn how to cook, you can flip open and you can have Julia Childs in your kitchen immediately. What an age
amazing.
we live in. If you want to be stronger, you can flip that open and there's plenty of videos out there. Do not be limited by using the wrong guru. Okay. That's really important because there's a lot of people you consider a guru that's wrong. Who's keeping you on the couch? Who told you couldn't lose 100 pounds? Your husband, your wife? Who told you that you couldn't be a triathlete? That you couldn't have a better marriage? Well, you've had, like you described, you've had 2 divorces before. That's me. Oh, my marriage now is unbelievable. You know, you have to get to the point where, okay, I need to study this. And maybe the information I was getting before, because I didn't get the results I wanted, is incorrect. So who's motivating you externally?
Yeah.
Make sure you pick the top shelf. Like you talk about Jordan Peterson, amazing philosopher from Canada. A lot of people hate him because he sounds conservative. He's just a realist, you know, but are you listening to his stuff? Who do you listen to that builds you up? And if you don't feel uncomfortable about breaking your barriers and motivated for change after talking to your guru, get another. It's okay. We do this with our cars, right? If you go to a mechanic and they overcharge you and never fix the problem, do you go back to that shop over and over again? Do you recommend it to your friends? No, but we all do this. Well, you know, lifting weights can make you manly. They talk to girls, or you can get hurt. You can get hurt sitting on your butt smoking cigarettes. It's called cancer. You know, it's like, no, it's so look who your experts are. And what that means, and a lot of people, this is what holds them back in the area of motivation, is they will lose continued contact with those people that would hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's friends and family.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit, Doc?
Absolutely. I think people come and go out of your life
Yeah.
for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it really is just you needed to be a part. It's just the way it went. Other times that person is a bit of an energy vampire on you,
Yep.
right? They're
Yes.
draining you. They're getting
Yes.
something. It's parasitic, right?
Yes.
They're getting something and you're being drained by it. And you're not yet big enough to be able to maybe gracefully let this person go. So you're hiding from them. They ring the doorbell and you're laying on the floor, you know? You change your phone number and don't give it to them or whatever,
Yes.
right? These are, you know, kind of wimpy ways of getting out of a situation. But a lot of times what I realize is slowly when I have a topic and what I find interesting isn't interesting to that person, they start to get a little bored and then they
Yes.
drift off.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to just talk about negative stuff and I keep bringing up positive stuff, they don't even know what's happening, but there's a disconnect and they start to just not want to be around me anymore. And then pretty soon there's less phone calls, less contact. And it's a very loving way in a sense to let somebody go. But you got to have some strength to do that. And it takes a little bit of energy to do that. But for me, those people have left my life slowly but surely through me just having different interests. I filled my life up with athletic people who don't eat gluten and dairy products. No one smokes anymore. Half my friends used to smoke. We loved music. There was a lot of drinking, you know, and it wasn't just youth. Those people still exist. I still love some of them, but I just don't spend as much time with them because we really have less in common. There's a couple things we can do. I got a friend I go to concerts with. He's a wonderful guy. His health is now getting better. Actually, is exercising for the first time in his life. But he is, you know, why aren't we closer? Well, we have less to talk about since my brain is always on stuff like your brain is on. And that isn't so good. But what happens? People are attracted to like people. And I find that people like me are energized by being around me and vice versa. And we just play off each other. So pretty soon you got a life filled with people that are going to be giving you the same things that you're giving. And if you're giving all that love and attention, you tend to get that back. And people really do stop hanging around you when they're not getting what they came for. You know, and it might be this victim mentality. You might be, I may have had a history. I think I've had a history of collecting people that were broken and telling them it's going to be okay. Right. Yeah, you're fine. But I didn't really fix them. All I did was kind of patronize and allow them to maintain a victim mentality.
And you may have lied to them because it's not fine. For them, it's not fine being broken. Who wants to be broken? I don't like it when I was broken.
One of the other things that I'd heard recently is that a weak man is not a good man.
It's not
a lot of people would say, well, he's so nice. Look at him over there. He doesn't even say anything. He's nice. He's so quiet, right? He just agrees. Well, he's kind of weak. Okay. Do you really want him when the hurricane hits? He might just hang on to a tree and start crying. He's not going to reach out and grab you as you're floating by because he's
your
weak.
Kid.
Right. These weak individuals, you know, it isn't physically weak at all. It's this ability to be able to give more than you are, to give everything you are. To me, that's when you're showing strength, right? Be strong and then lift other people up. Wow. That to me, so work on your own strength. I don't want to be around weak people.
No.
You know, I mean, if I can help them temporarily, if I can make them stronger, if they're willing, right? You know, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. So if someone is in that state, okay, they've lived a weak life and a weak existence, they lie, cheat, steal, and they're doing all this nasty stuff. If they've woken up and I happen to be around for that, and they're looking at me going, hey, he might be someone that can lead me a little bit. That's fantastic. Welcome. Let's do it. Let's get you going. But if you're going to continue to just lie, cheat, steal, and drain, I'm going to have to let you go. That is not that you're going to have to, you're not, maybe you haven't burned enough. You haven't suffered enough in your dysfunction. You're not ready yet to grow. And if someone doesn't have these skills that you and I've developed from working with patients over years and years, they're really going to be drained by it. And then they just live in constant dysfunction. So for me, it's about having such a focus on doing the right stuff and staying positive and staying motivated and growing. Because I don't think nothing sits still. When I'm sitting still, my heart's beating, time's going by, I'm oxidizing, I'm under oxygenated, right? I'm gaining fat maybe and losing muscle. When I get up and move, everything changes. So the first thing people need to do is move. And that isn't just physical, that's also emotional, mental. You need to grow. You need to grow up, right? A lot of people are stuck. They're fixated at 13 years old from a trauma maybe, or that was the most comfortable thing. The last good year of their life might have been at age 13 in their mind. And maybe it's true because they haven't done anything since then. That was such a great year, or high school was such a great time that they're still living there. So they're still doing the same things over and over. Maybe that serves some people. That doesn't serve me. I don't think that. I think that's a recipe for disease. Stagnation is the disease. Flow is the cure. And growth is flow. If you're not growing, you're dying.
And even if you're going backwards and falling down, you're still moving. Oh, I made a mistake. I opened this business. It didn't go. Good. What did you learn from it? Well, not to open another business. No. What did you learn? Oh, I got to do my accounts receivables a different way. Great. Then we open another business. Oh, it failed. What did you learn? Oh, my marketing has to go this way. Okay. By the time, you want to fall down 7 times, get up 8. And that's where all the success is. And a lot of people are not motivated to fail. And I don't even call it failure. I just call it learning. If you throw 1,000 pounds on my back, I will fail with it, but I learned something. Okay. Not strong enough. Got to work on it. Got to get my feet wider. There's a lot of things you learn from not being able to complete the task. You get stronger during the challenge. The challenge.
Yeah. And to me, you and I have talked about different definitions of success. I think people need to have one. And one of the ones we learned a long time ago was having given your all and having learned something, right? Yeah. Yes. So if you did every day, if you gave everything you had, and you laid in bed at night and you said, what I learned today, and maybe you wrote it down, imagine where you'd be. Every day you gave your all, every day you learned. Every day you gave your all, every day you learned. I can't think of a better way of going through life. But if you said, today I didn't do anything and I didn't learn anything, wow. I mean, how is that working out for you? Not well. That's not going to go.
So, Doc, what I do is a little variation of that. Before I go to bed, and I sleep pretty well, before I go to bed, I say, okay, where was my biggest surprise win? And since I treat patients, it could be this patient that finally got it. Dr. Clary, I finally got it. I've been dieting for a month and lost 10 pounds. I'm like, oh, wow, I gave up smoking. Or with all my kids, I got an A in a subject that I couldn't do. Thanks for helping me 3 months ago on the homework. Or in myself, intrinsically, what did I learn about myself today? Well, Fred, you can't have 365 days that you don't learn. Really? Do you get mad in the car when someone cuts you off? We have constant thoughts all the time. What are we learning about ourselves? Positive. What wins did I have? Oh, when the kid said this to me, I didn't get mad and throw something, or whatever win it could be. I had self-control when that person said I should be double masked or whatever, and, basically told them, yeah, I'm good because, I'm not afraid of a positive RNA strand virus. Well, what's that? Exactly.
Right. Yeah. People don't know what they're talking about, but they like to talk about it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, Fred, I think we covered a lot today. In summary, if you want to summarize for us a lot of what you said today, tell us, because I always want the emotional, the chemical, and the structural. I think those 3 categories, like if I have a patient and something isn't going right, I'm like, okay, let's stop for a second. Let's look at your emotions. Let's look at your chemistry, and let's look at your physical body. Like, are you challenging it? Are you beating it up? What are you doing at work? Are you sitting too much? Your posture's wrong, and all that stuff. So in motivation, I think I feel like we covered the chemical, right? We got to get our hormones and our all the different things like serotonin and dopamine produced properly. And some of that is done simply by having the right thoughts, having the right diet. We got to get the protein in the water and eat clean food, and some supplements. Like you said, we're not all organic farmers. We can't just walk out in our yard and pull a vitamin and mineral rich tomato out of the ground, off the vine and just eat that thing. So, and we can buy as much as we want, but a little vitamin supplementation, I think, and I agree with that. I take a fair amount of things every day. But also, to me, getting your fears behind you is a big one for me personally, right? It's more scary to not do that, because of these 10 things that won't be so great about my life if I don't do this. And that could be a million different topics, but don't put those fears in front of you and just keep staring them down. Put them behind you. To me, that's a major push. I'd rather be a little bit pushed forward than running into big obstacles all the time. I think it's easier. It plays to that, the lower energy equivalent you were talking about. But what else do you want to say in summary from what you went over today that's going to get our viewers to say, okay, I'm ready to take the next step?
So for those listening, go to a quiet place in your house. Don't do it when you're tired, lonely, angry, scared, hungry. Pick a good time by yourself with a notebook, and then write down who or what is holding you back. Be honest. You may say money, my job, whatever, but I want you to write this, and you're going to give and invest in yourself 30 minutes. That's all. 30 minutes. Who's holding you back? I'm going to save you the 30 minutes. The only thing that's holding you back when you get to the end of the story is you.
Absolutely.
It's between your ears. It's not your spouse. It's not your economy. It's not how we're raised. And no matter what the government and government schools tell you, it's not your color, creed, race, or religion. It's you. You. You can learn enough. You can be enough. You can think enough. As soon as you remove that label that says you don't have it. I'm going to tell everyone out there they have it within them to do their wildest dreams. And all they have to do, they may have to do some work. They may have to learn a new skill. They may have to go back to school. They may have to eat a better diet, but it's a choice. And how much better, think 5 years from now, if you did everything you needed to do to get what you wanted for 5 years, how happy you would be, your family would be, and everyone that you influence. Because you influence your family, your neighborhood, your job site every day. What are you influencing with? Crap? Or are you bringing in success in changing lives? It's your responsibility. It's not mine. It's not the government's. Don't lean on them. You can see how good they do. It is yours. And once you make that choice, your brain changes. And you know what? You start getting happy just getting up in the morning.
Yeah, that's well put. That is well put, Fred. I think that's exactly what we should do. And if we're doing that, think of the community of people doing that, right? It's not just one person, but imagine if everyone was going in that direction, even a little bit, how it would change society. We'd have less suffering, less poverty, less violence. Things would just smooth out, right? Because there's so many lies, there's so much garbage that we're being fed by marketers, by the mass media, which I don't think it's the mass media anymore. It's like an old term, because who's paying attention to these people now? I mean, so few people. I know my kids don't watch these stations because they're, if it bleeds, it leads, and we don't need that anymore. We need truth. And I think truth comes from you doing some experiments by stepping outside your comfort zone. It's stimulating to be outside your comfort zone. Is it scary? Yeah. Are you going to die out there? No. Fear isn't going to kill you in short term. It's going to actually be exciting. Why did we go on roller coasters? Why do we watch scary movies? It's because we lack stimulation. Go out and actually do something that's stimulating. That's what I want people to do, right? I've had people say they try to do something that scares them every day, right? That's not a bad one, but I want people to be more organized than that. I want to write down actual things. Don't just jump from rooftop to rooftop. I want you to do something that is scary because it's uncomfortable, and it's going to make your little circle bigger. You're going to be a bigger person by the time you're done with this task. Take that on, grow. Because if you're not growing, in my opinion, you're dying. You can't be in the same place. You might think you're in the same place. You're not. You're older, you're sicker, your oxygen's less, your muscle mass is less. Everything is getting worse unless you're growing and moving. We're meant to be moved. We're meant to grow. And that is mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. It's in all those areas. So that's what I challenge my viewers to do. You need more help with the stuff, you can text, and you can email Dr. Fred Clary. You can do that to me. We'll put stuff in the links for that so we can keep communicating. But I want to thank you again, Fred, for
Thank
coming
you.
on. I mean, it's always
Anytime.
awesome.
And I
It's
want
always
to finish
awesome.
with this thought, Doc.
Sure.
Here's something that can motivate you. You're laying in your deathbed, you're 90, you're holding the hand of someone you love, you're looking up and you're seeing kids, children, maybe people you coached if you don't have kids, adults, they're all happy. And you look to yourself, you're not scared. And everyone's like, oh, you know, because death is tough. And they're looking at you and you're not scared. The dying one's not scared. And you say out loud, that was a well-lived life.
Yeah.
That's what motivates me.
Yes.
If you can hold on to that, I bet you that changes what you do every day.
That's how I want to go. Exactly. That's the way everybody should want to go.
Yeah.
No regrets. And imagine if you gave your all and learned something every day, that's simple definition. That's how your life would end.
Yeah.
Because look, how many people would you change? You gave your all. You didn't hold it. You know, sometimes I'll go cycling and I'll go out and do 60 miles and pedal like a lunatic. And I get back into the house and I like stumble a little coming down the stairs in the backyard, holding onto my bike. I'm ready to park it. And I think I gave it all. That's what I had. I think I gave it all. And then part of me says, you know, tomorrow or after these lakes a little better, I think maybe I can get that other hill, you know. I'm gonna race that one next time. You know, and then you keep improving on it, right? And that is something that I think people don't realize they're rarely given their all. It rarely happens. I think it's David Goggins said something about when you can't do anything and you're just about complete toast, you've given everything, you're at 40% of your human potential. He's estimated that 40% when you're on the ground crawling, yeah, you're 40% toast. And you got to get up because you know you didn't give 100% yet. And I think that comes from a man who's been through it, right? So I think people need to push it and get themselves going. All right, Fred, thanks again.
Thank you.
Hey, like I say, I want you back on the show real soon. We'll pick another fun topic and we'll keep hitting them.
How about, why don't you throw it out to your listeners? What do they want to hear?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So write into Dr. Mike and give him suggestions to what you want to hear us talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially from watching these podcasts of Dr. Fred and I. You know, we have knowledge in certain areas. If you feel like something you could ask us that we'd be able to expand on, please do. Let's do it. We'll pick a topic and we'll go.
All right.
All right, Fred. Hey, you have a great day.
I am. I'm going to run here. Thanks, guy. I love you. All
right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.